Fledgling Pentecostal churches under the banner Young Pastorsford have embarked on a national campaign to drum up support for President Mnangagwa to resoundingly win next year's harmonized elections. Young Pastorsford says President Mnangagwa deserves another term at the helm of the country owing to his visionary leadership and people-oriented policies that are manifesting in various developmental projects mainly in the sphere of infrastructure to deliver an upper-middle-income society in Zimbabwe by 2030. The organization's founder and interim national chairperson Pastor Isaac Makamichi today met the ZANU-PF Masvingo provincial executive and pledged to rally behind ZANU-PF and President Mnangagwa ahead of next year's elections. Pastor Makamichi said Young Pastorsford will soon set up permanent structures around the country, pointing out that his organization was inspired by the need to use religion to preach the gospel of Pan-Africanism and resistance to neo-imperial forces bent on installing a puppet government in Zimbabwe. As young pastors leading Pentecostal churches under the banner of Young Pastorsford, we feel it is incumbent upon us to help mobilize votes for ZANU-PF and President Mnangagwa ahead of next year's election to preserve the gains of our hard-won independence and also enable President Mnangagwa to complete his program of steering Zimbabwe into a middle-income economy by 2030. We need to mobilize churches, especially those led by young pastors, to preach the gospel of self-emancipation. President Mnangagwa has already set the ball rolling by pushing the Nika Inavakwa Naveen Veo mantra, said Pastor Makamichi. The youthful pastor told Team Mnangagwa and his team that the present generation was duty-bound to defend the country's independence, saying there was nothing wrong with churches that preach the gospel of self-determination. In response, Team Mnangagwa paid tribute to Pastor Makamichi, saying churches played a key role in the development of any country. Team Mnangagwa expressed readiness to work closely with Young Pastorsford, saying the relationship between the Revolutionary Party and indigenous churches is solid and dates back to the days of the liberation struggle. We are happy with the initiative by Pastor Makamichi and his team. We hope to have an official launch of the Young Pastorsford initiative in the near future. As ZANU-PF, we need every vote available to make sure President Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF win next year's elections by a landslide, said Team Mnangagwa. In the last elections in 2018, ZANU-PF won all but one of the contested 26 National Assembly seats, with a large fraction of its following coming from churches. In the presidential election, President Mnangagwa defeated Mr. Nelson Chamisa by a razor-thin margin. The two are expected to square off again in next year's watershed elections. Meanwhile, opposition leader Nelson Chamisa's Citizens Coalition for Change (CCC) has embarked on a nationwide rural mobilization exercise in a bid to break Mnangagwa's ZANU-PF's stranglehold on that constituency ahead of next year's general elections. Rural areas have traditionally been ZANU-PF strongholds, but after a strong showing in the by-elections held last month, CCC is seeking to establish a foothold in a bid to turn the tide. CCC Interim Secretary for Rural Mobilization, Happy Morchadziva, yesterday told Newsday that the rural mobilization exercise, code-named Mgwazo, was going to be a game-changer in the 2023 elections. We have launched a massive recruitment and mobilization exercise called Mgwazo. We are meeting ordinary citizens in rural areas. This is a nationwide program where we are mobilizing people to register to vote and recruiting them to the CCC party, Chadziva said. He said so far CCC had covered Mashonaland East Province, where it interacted with people from Muriwa, Mutoko and Uzumba. We are targeting every district in Zimbabwe. Right now, I am in Hwedza together with leaders from Mashonaland East, Charlton Hwend, Interim CCC Secretary General, and Muricy's Wizai, Harare Central MP. We have been distributing flyers. Chamisa has highlighted the need to amplify the CCC rural strategy and stressed that CCC's major thrust would be to grow the rural vote with an immediate inundation strategy of rural areas to mobilize youths to register to vote, he said. Chidziva said the meetings have been largely peaceful. Last year, during his Meet the People tours around the country and before CCC was formed, Chamisa encountered several violent attempts, including being shot at by alleged ZANU-PF supporters, often backed by armed police. Many of his supporters were beaten up, resulting in them being hospitalized. ZANU-PF thrives on intimidation and instills fear in rural folks. The party has been winning elections through coercion. We are telling rural folks that their vote is a secret, and if they really want their lives to be improved, they should join CCC, Chidziva said. But ZANU-PF Director for Information Tafadzwa Mngagwa said the ruling party was not bothered about what CCC does. We are not going to lose sleep over what MDC or CCC does. We are the governing party. Our focus is on winning the elections in 2023. Our focus is to fulfill the promises we made to our people. Our focus is to improve the lives of ordinary people in Zimbabwe, Mngagwa said. Political analysts said, in order to win the presidency in 2023, the CCC party should come up with a clear program targeting the rural vote. Political analyst Gibson Nikadzino said, encouraging people to register to vote without proper structures is a futile exercise. It is one thing to register a willingness to do that and another to act upon it. Political alternatives in mobilization strategies come when you are countering an opponent based on structures. As it stands, the CCC has no structures that can compete with ZANU-PF, Nikadzino said. As of February, the restructuring exercise by ZANU-PF was carried out on its 74,000 cells, which translated to over 35 million members, because they are targeting a 5 million membership vote. The CCC says it is targeting 6 million members, but it has no structures. So this rural mobilization exercise is a futile exercise because ZANU-PF is also doing all it can to consolidate and defend its zones of autonomy. In his Big Saturday Read column, legal expert Alex Magasa said, if the CCC wanted to win the rural vote, it should put strategies in place like what was done in Binga North during the just-ended by-elections. People want to know what you will do to counter the impediments. Binga North reminds us that you must do what is within your control, and that is to spread your message, to get people to vote, and finally to watch and guard the vote. The CCC will go into the 2023 elections knowing that the odds are heavily against it. It must approach 2023 just like the people of Binga North did. Their will prevailed, despite the best efforts of the regime to thwart it, Magasa said.